Good evening, everybody. Thank you for your patience as we were waiting to get quorum. I'll invite folks to close down any conversations that might be happening. My name is Spencer Williams. I'm Director of Land Use and Topography for Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso. Welcome to the Thursday, November 26th, 2025 Brooklyn Borough Board meeting, coming to you from the community room at Brooklyn Borough Hall. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded and will be available per the open meetings law.
Good evening as well. I am Carolyn Church, Director of Community Boards. And yes.
Yeah.
I'll do it again for the record. Good evening, everyone. I'm Carolyn Church, Director of Community Boards here at Brooklyn Borough Hall under the leadership of our Borough President Antonio Reynoso. And I will start with the roll call. If you are not the principal, please give us your name. District 33, Wrestler. Thank you. District 34, Gutierrez. Hello. District 35, Hudson. District 36, Osei. 37, Nurse. 38, Aviles. 39, Hanif. 40, Joseph. 41, Millie. Hi, Tamisha. 41, Banks. Sorry, 42, Banks. 43, Zhuang. Can you repeat? Thank you. 44. 45, Louis. 46, Narcisse. Hello, Frank, welcome. 47, Brandon. Well, hi, how you doing? Good. You have one more meeting with us. 48, Vernikov. 50, Carr. Borough President's office is represented at the head table. Community boards. Community Board 1. Thank you. Community Board 2. Community Board 3. Community Board 4. Thank you. Community Board 5. Actually, Ms. Lohman mistook the meeting, and so she was here last night and won't be able to make it today, or is very unlikely to make it today, she said. Community Board 6. Community Board 7. Hi, Dan. Welcome. Community Board 8. Community Board 9. Community Board 10. Community Board 11. Community Board 12. Community Board 13. Nice to meet you, Christian. And welcome. You are one of our new designees. Welcome. Community Board 14. Hi. Community Board 15. Community Board 15. Sorry, Jacob. Community Board 16. Thank you. Community Board 17. And Community Board 18.
And we have been joined most recently by. Thank you.
Thank you. Get her. That's it. So just want to give actually a quick welcome and acknowledgement. For the past 3 years, we've been joined in this room at this meeting, but with Bianca Stevenson. You may know that Bianca has moved on to be closer home in the Bronx. She's at Bronx Borough Hall. But today, I want to welcome Madeline Enlau, who's joined our team for community boards. And in the week that Madeline's been here full time, she's already shown that she's going to be a powerhouse. So don't expect anything to slow down, okay? We're moving. We're moving. Big news. If you remember with an expiring term, you received an email from me today saying that community board applications are now live. That means if you want to be reconsidered for appointment, you must fill out the application completely. Applications are going to close on February 6, 2026. That means you have a whole year to fill it out. We're not extending the deadline. If your members ask about it, they say, oh, I didn't receive an email. They should not be, stressed out about that. It means that their term isn't expiring. But if they're really nervous, tell them they can always call our office to confirm. That's actually my big news. But we do have 2 notices from our office. Next Wednesday from 11 a.m. to 2, we're having Brooklyn Workforce Development convening. Everyone is invited to attend. Join cross-sectors leaders to explore how youth apprenticeship can build equitable talent pipelines and prepare Brooklyn's young people for high-demand careers. Everyone in this room should get a flyer with that information on it. And as well, on November 13th, from 6 to 7:30 p.m., there's going to be an idea generation workshop for participatory budgeting. Let's bring up some ideas and figure out how to spend the people's money. I know some community boards in Brooklyn received money and they have executed their projects. So this is like a really great way for communities to get some pet projects funded. For more information, come on out. You should have a flyer. If you didn't get one, we can send them out digitally to your boards, or we can make some more copies and ensure you at least have a paper copy when you leave. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Spencer. Regarding community board applications, as we process them, it's really important for the reapplicants that we know what their attendance records are. So we're asking you to encourage your district managers to send us the attendance records as soon as possible after January 31st. It's really critical in us beginning to process, to begin the whole process. So please, we'll be sending the DMs a memo soon, should be next week, but we're asking your assistance, your advocacy to help us get those records as soon as possible after January 31st. Thank you.
All right. With that, we have quorum. We'll now move on to the approval of the agenda. There has been a slight shift in that EDC has asked to be rescheduled. And so the item for Sunset Park Pier parking updates will no longer be on the agenda. And as chair, would like to make a motion to amend the agenda to remove that item. Is there a second? Seconded by Sandy. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda, the amended agenda? Thank you. Motion by Member Valles, seconded by Member Baptiste. We'll do a voice vote. All those in favor of approval of the agenda, say aye. Any abstentions? Any noes? The agenda is approved. We will now move on to the approval of the minutes from the October 7th, 2025 meeting that you all have received prior to this meeting. Is there any discussion on this item or motions? Okay, hearing no motion, I move to approve the minutes as shared for October 7th. Is there a second? Thank you. We'll now do a voice vote for the approval of the minutes from the October meeting. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Abstention from CB10. And well, are you both, which one of you is voting? Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Do you have that? Okay. All right. With that, we will now move on to communications and reports. Are there any reports from committee members or committees? What's that? Oh. And from the boards, yes, as well. Yes, please. And if you would, to be recognized, if you could turn your placard up, we will make sure either someone brings the mic or get a mic to you.
Good evening, everyone. So I just have like 3 updates. So the member is going to be hosting her monthly advisory board meeting at our office at 400 Rockaway Avenue on Saturday, November 15th from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. It's free and open to the public. We're going to be discussing safety, transportation, park sanitation, renters and homeowners issues, and many more. On Wednesday, November 19th, the member is hosting 2 free Oath resource events with the deputy from Oath. And that's going to be, one is going to be at 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. at the Brooklyn Public Library, Saratoga branch, located at 8 Thomas Boylan Street at Macon Street. The next one on the same day is going to be from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. at Brooklyn Public Library Stone Avenue branch at 581 Mother Gaston Boulevard. Thank you, and we appreciate your support.
Wonderful. Member Baptiste, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to thank everyone who was able to support Brooklyn CB9 when we did our Veterans Parade on Eastern Parkway on October 25th. And as I see they didn't raise their cards, I will blow them up myself. I wanted to congratulate CBs 3, 16, and 8 on a wonderful event for Veterans Appreciation last week. It was really fantastic to see veterans, people who have served, people who have contributed so much and sacrificed so much, be recognized in the fashion that they really needed to be. So I just want to say congratulations, and I was really happy to be a part and attend that event.
All right, Member Camacho.
Hello. Yeah, I just wanted to speak in regard to some of the concerns that are not on Brooklyn, but in Manhattan with some of the CB's chairs in regards to council and the borough president appointing them. I'm not too sure if anybody read the newspaper that some council person wanted to the EULA process, and they didn't get a chance to vote on it, and because some of the chairs, I'm not too sure if you read it, was removed because they didn't sway towards council. I'm not too sure if anybody read that. I hope it doesn't occur here. Because we're volunteers and we represent our community at large. And, you know, we really need to work together. If, especially our council, we don't agree with some things. It's kind of disheartening that we volunteered and we make our presentations and recommendations based on the community and the members, to have one of the elected officials that we appoint to remove the chair or the co-chair committee or not reinstate them. I think we really need to look at the charter revision in regards to people having 3 bites of the apple, in regards to us being appointed by the borough president, meaning, and also being appointed by council, and also having 8 years, 2 years, 4-year term, and then getting removed. So I don't know how people get 3 shots of an apple. I think it's my opinion, and all my board members feel the same, especially the old timers that have been here. I've been here 41 years. And to be disenfranchised and pushed out, I've been in my community 65 years, my grandmother 103. To be, say that you no longer need it or want it, it's disheartening because we want our new people there, but the training for our new people needs to be there. And we encourage you, the community boards are not rally or petition people. We're not there to fight. They have organizations that do that. We're here for the services and the quality of life in the community. That's what our city charter mandates, am I right? And I know all of you have been around a long time and know that. But when you appoint new people and their philosophy is, we want more bike racks, bike lanes, outdoor dining, outdoor this, and the community at large says that they need to have an input and a voice on there, and we say no, that the powers may be ignore us and do what they want, then why are we here? That's why I asked you, why are we here? If my opinion and our concerns are not being heard or voiced. So we really need to address some of the issues and some of the concerns that I feel myself and a lot of the board members do. It's all right to do things for free, you know, and you work in the community for free and then be disenfranchised and pushed out only because you were doing it for free. But the people that are coming here stay 1 year, 2 years here, and they leave. And then some of them, you appoint them, they don't even come to the meeting. And then we submit papers to remove them. So how are we working? How are we doing, and how are we choosing and picking these people that are here that has a different agenda than what the community? If it ain't for the community, for the whole community at large, who benefits from something, it shouldn't be. And I'm keeping it real and I'm letting y'all guys know that we really need to work together because people have different ideas and different philosophies on what you guys do in your job. We're not here to fight for people or protest out for bike lane or bike rack. We're here for the quality of issues. Now, if the people go and sign a petition from the people on the block and they want it, then for it. But if they don't want it, you can't throw it in their face. It's the community's input. The people that are adjacent and affected by that. And we're not seeing that. We're really not.
Yeah, thank you,
But-
Member Camacho. I think I would like to,
Just want you to let you know, as you guys represent us and work with us, we really need to find out, why are people here for?
yes,
Are you filling out on the board? Do you have a crew or a clique you want to, then you're in the wrong place.
yes. I think
If your agenda is about you and your crew and not about the community, guess what? Then we're not here for that.
yeah, there have been many, many times in which community boards have certainly strengthened the conversation, put forth really tremendous work to advance community priorities. We want to continue to see that happening. I heard in your comments a need for maintaining the institutional knowledge that happens in communities, as well as the need for ongoing training and investment, because it's disheartening after spending decades and decades in this kind of a role, giving your time, to see a new voice come and not take that opportunity and that advantage up. I think there are a lot of questions around term limits and ways to stay engaged. There's certainly different community boards have different approaches for non-voting members, particularly on that sort of off cycle. So if you sort of were to stop being a voting member, but still be a contributing member to your community board, to then be able to come back, I think that those kind of strategies, we would benefit from having a broader discussion amongst all of us as we get to other business later in tonight, if you all would oblige. But I think you're bringing up some really critical points and also raising a sort of cautionary tale from another part of the city that you don't want to see replicated here. And I very much appreciate you sort of sounding that alarm, but also bringing your experience and perspective to this conversation, because this is the time in which we are starting to see that charter revision start to have a real impact in terms of people's term limits coming up and their service on community boards. So I think it's a timely conversation, but I would like to revisit it when we get to other business on the agenda, if that's okay. Thank you again. Are there any other member updates? Wonderful. Seeing none, we will now welcome our first presentation. And I'm going to start by introducing Julia Casagrande, who's the Deputy Director of Clean Energy in the Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice, to talk about battery storage facilities. So welcome, Julia and team.
Thank you. We have like a pretty big team. Should we all come?
Come,
Okay.
come.
Okay, great.
Sit.
Perfect. Okay.
Evening. Clicker here for your presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. See, we're getting into full screen, which is perfect. Thank you. Thank you for having us here tonight. My name is Julia Casagrande. I'm the Deputy Director of Clean Energy at the New York City Mayor's Office of Climate and Environmental Justice. Okay, here we go. Really happy to be here tonight to talk about energy storage, why this is important in our neighborhoods and our infrastructure, and also get some more information out there to the group. We have myself, I'm going to give background on what the systems are and how they integrate with our energy infrastructure. We have fire department and Department of Buildings who will give information on permitting, safety, regulations, And then we have the state, NYSERDA, and ESRG, who will give information on state programs that support energy storage, as well as some background on code development. I know we have a lot of content, so I'm going to go pretty fast, but we'll have time for Q&A as well if there's anything we want to clarify. So, there we go. Starting off at a really high level, what is energy storage? This is really just taking electricity from a time when there is not high demand and then dispatching it when there is high demand. So this can be relevant if we're talking about using electricity when it's more expensive and dispatching the energy then. It's important for when there is high demand and we need more electricity, either on like a large scale or on a neighborhood scale, as well as like backup power for a building, for a hospital, or something like that during a brownout or a blackout. We have different scales here, ranging from a residential to really a utility scale, large energy storage system. It's all kind of the same technology, but strung together in larger and larger systems, and then with different controls. What we've seen the most in New York City, I would say, is this mid-sized system. And this is something that's been coming into neighborhoods, and I know there's been concern around it as well. I don't think that anybody can read this, I'm sorry. But I'll just give a little bit of information on why this is different than a small scale energy storage system. So as I said, the components and the technology is kind of the same as what you have in your cell phone or in your AirPods or in your laptop, but it's a lot of cells of batteries, strung together. The real difference is the monitoring system. So with an energy storage system that we're talking about for like an infrastructure level, they have a battery management system that oversees the performance, the health of the individual battery cells, monitors all of this constantly, and can shut down the system if any issues arise. So this is very highly regulated. There's testing at the national and international level that the batteries have to go into, and then a rigorous permitting process on the city side. Okay, so why are we doing this? Why do we need energy storage in our neighborhoods and in the city? There's a few different reasons. The first is that this makes the electric grid more reliable by providing energy where it's needed. So sometimes this is, as I had the pictures before, utility scale, really providing like energy to the system. And sometimes it's more within the networks and the Con Ed distribution system if there's a limit on the energy that can be provided in your neighborhood. The energy storage system can moderate that peak and provide energy to reduce outages. Also resilience, if there is a blackout or a brownout, we can have an energy storage system that provides power to your business, to your home, to a cooling center, maybe during a heat wave or a hospital. It can also help with affordability. So really the most expensive part of the electric grid is like meeting that peak power demand. So if we can bring that peak down, we don't have to build as much new electric infrastructure. So having something that can be dispatched to reduce the energy peak can help with affordability. And then also, like as I said earlier, you can take energy from the grid when it is cheaper and then dispatch it when it's more expensive. So some buildings use that through a demand response program to save money on their bills. Health-wise, also, again, reducing that peak demand can reduce our need to dispatch power plants and older power plants within the city during peak hours as well. And then finally, integrating with renewable energy. So renewable energy is more modular than like a fossil fuel power plant. So by using energy storage, we can kind of modulate that grid and store it for later. On the neighborhood level, it's also a technology that we are seeing come into neighborhoods as opposed to just on the industrial scale. There's a few reasons for this. In our electric grid, there's kind of limits at different areas. So sometimes it's really within a network level, within a distribution system. If you think about if you have an outage, Con Edison will come in and bring a mobile generator into the neighborhood to provide electricity directly there. And the energy storage is intended to like mitigate that. So if you have the power where you need it, as opposed to just on a city level, it can really help to modulate those systems.
Like, because it keeps cutting out.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Even better. This is better. And then, so this map, which maybe people can see, I know the words are quite small, but the darker shaded blue is where we've seen more outages in the past from Con Edison. You will note that Staten Island is not shaded. We do not have that data, but we are working on getting it in the future from Con Ed. So specific neighborhoods do experience more outages, and having the energy storage systems within the neighborhoods can help with this in the future. I'll just touch on this one briefly, but on a more city level, we look to energy storage as a potential solution for reducing dependency on fossil fuel plants, particularly peaker power plants. So these are the power plants that are used, the oldest, the dirtiest. I think this one is doing the same thing. Okay.
Third time's a charm.
Let's see. Thank you. I can just talk into all of them at once. Hello, hello, hello. No. Hello. Okay, pause.
Get a little off on. Let's see if that. Sorry.
The classic off on action. No. Hello, hello. Okay. I forgot what I was saying. Oh, power plants. So we have peaker power plants. These are the older, dirtier power plants in the city. Some of these were really slated to be retired by 2025 per state rule, but we don't have the enough electricity, enough capacity to retire them. So the state designated them as a reliability need. This is 2 power plants in Gowanus and Narrows in Brooklyn. They'll be online for 2 more years at this point. So this is unfortunate news, and through really reducing the peak, we can reduce the usage of the peaker power plants. Like we need, a significant amount of energy storage and efficiency and things to do so. But even if we cannot shut them down in this time, if we can reduce their usage, that would be a benefit, and we hope that something that can happen. I'm not going to get into these in depth, but we do have city and state policy goals around carbon neutrality, around renewable energy, and around energy storage as well. So on the bottom, which I'm sure nobody can read, it says on the city level, there's a goal of 500 megawatts of energy storage citywide by 2025. We're not on track for that, but we are having energy storage ramp up in the city now. And on the state level, there's a target of 6,000 megawatts of energy storage deployed statewide by 2030. Quickly, I'll touch on some of the initiatives that the city is organizing. So one thing, we want to get more education out there around what energy storage is, what the benefits are, what the safety regulations are, so that it's more known within the communities. We have a working group with all of our city agencies to do so. We're also working to consolidate work streams and facilitate permitting process improvements throughout our agencies. We do have a city property tax abatement of 30% for energy storage systems that is in place until 2035. And then we are piloting technologies on our own property through EDC, through Economic Development Corporation programs, as well as deploying some energy storage systems on DCAS city-owned properties. And lastly, zoning. So we don't have DCP here today, but I'm going to just touch briefly on where energy storage is allowed. The recent zoning resolution expanded where energy storage can be installed as of right, which means that there's no special approval process needed to site these systems in the cases where they are as of right. This was approved because, as I said, they are needed within the neighborhoods for energy infrastructure, but we also are confident in the technology standards, the testing standards, and the city permitting processes that these are safe to be located within the city. I will say, regardless of being as of right, they're still subject to the stringent DOB and FDNY requirements of the city. And I'm going to pass it over to my colleagues to talk about that now. And this one works the best.
Oh, great. Thank you, Julia. Appreciate that. Good evening, everybody. My name is Tom Correo. I'm the Chief of Fire Prevention for the New York City Fire Department. Thanks for the opportunity to chat with you tonight. Appreciate it. So I want to go through the approval process. So the one thing I want to start with is that first of all, it's interagency. You see my colleague Alan Price here from the Department of Buildings. It's a very multi-layered, multifaceted process, right? And it's meant to be that way because it's meant to be a very, very high level of safety. We follow national standards such as NFPA, National Fire Protection Association 855. We follow UL standards, Underwriters Laboratories. These devices are tested to a very, very high level because we want to make sure that when we approve a device for use in New York City, it is safe to put wherever it is placed. So it is, let me start a little bit with certificate of approval. So that is basically your device, right? You have a battery energy storage system you would like to market in New York City. It has to come through the New York City Fire Department first. It has to go through what's called thermal runaway testing. That's tested to a very specific standard by Underwriters Laboratories. It's 9540. And it's basically meant to test everything you can think about that could happen to an energy storage system. So an electrical surge or overload, thermal imbalance, mechanical insult, vibration, all these types of things are tested. We get all that report in the New York City Fire Department. We look at everything. We look at the what they call a hazard mitigation analysis. That's put together by a third-party professional. It says basically this is the testing, and then this is how this system is made and engineered to actually make sure that it operates correctly, right? One big takeaway from tonight is if there is any type of any kind of like a small mishap, we want to keep it small, right? And it's engineered to do that, right? So if you think about a cell in your body, there's a battery cell that becomes a module that becomes a rack. As soon as something happens, there's an overcharge at a cell. We want that cell to shut down, and it's engineered to do that, right? So and it's tested to do that as well. So for the and I'm not sure if that's covered in the next slide or in the next slide. Okay, I'm sort of getting ahead of myself, but now I really messed it up. I want to go backwards. There we go. Okay. Okay, back one more. Okay, I'll stop here. That'll work. So that's the first step, is to get you get a certificate of approval for your device. That does not mean you can install it yet. It just means that it can be installed in New York City, right? The next step, right, and it depends a lot on the size of the particular type of energy storage system, right, which we define as small, medium, or large, right? So small would be from 0 to 20 kilowatts per hour, from 20 to 250 is medium, over 250 is large, right? And then is it being installed outdoors or is it being installed indoors, right? So, and I'll let my colleague Alan talk from DOB about their role in indoor installations or smaller installations. The fire department is mostly, in terms of installation, really concentrated on large outdoor installations that's over 250 megawatts per hour. Okay, let me advance that more. Okay, great. So this is just kind of showing the different roles here for installation, where the Department of Buildings handles all interior installations of energy storage systems, as well as small and medium. We handle the large. Okay. I'll kind of talk through this. It'll make a little more sense. So you want to install your approved energy storage system in New York City, right? So now you have to reapply to the Bureau of Fire Prevention, right? And you have to, there's 3 different things that you have to show to us that operate, right? To get your plan approved, right? One is the mechanical plans. That's the actual energy storage system. The second is the fire alarm system. They all have to have a fire alarm system that actually goes to a central station monitoring company that will alert the FDNY if there's an incident. And then you also need a sprinkler system, right? And New York City is unique in that. That's an extra layer of safety, and it's got to comply with National Fire Protection Association 15 standards, right? That's an additional layer of safety. Each one of those features has to be approved by different sections of the Bureau of Fire Prevention, New York City Fire Department, and they issue what's called a letter of acceptance for each one of those systems, right? And that allows you to go to the next step, right? Once you get all those, you can get a project authorization, right? Which means you can begin to install your energy storage system, right? And that's good because it alerts the regulatory agencies, the FDNY, the Department of Buildings, that you're beginning to install your system. Okay. Along with this too, you have to follow all of Department of Buildings regulations, and we'll let Alan talk about that too. That's electrical construction permits, things like that. So let's kind of go past that. Okay. You install your system now, right? You're ready to go, right? Now you're ready for inspection. Okay, right? Those same 3 Bureau of Fire Prevention entities will now come out and inspect, right? They're going to inspect the general setup and all the safety features, all the mechanical systems, right? And that's by our bulk fuel safety unit. They're also going to inspect the fire alarm system, right? And that will be done by our fire alarm inspectors, right? And then the sprinkler system is by our range hood unit, which they usually will be inspecting the fire extinguishing systems that you might commonly find in a commercial restaurant, right? But that it's just, a system is a system, and they're the very best people to actually do that. You have to get sign-offs from each one of those, a letter of approval, and then, and only then, and working with DOB, can you get an operating permit to actually turn that system on. So you can see there's a lot of gateways, there's a lot of safety, there's a lot of steps, and rightfully so, right, before we actually give the operating permit. So this is, I'll just skip through this. This is just a flow chart that'll kind of show exactly what I just talked about. And I'm going to hand the mic and the clicker to Alan.
Thank you. So Chief Correo mentioned that you need to come to FDNY in order to install an energy storage system, and they have certain approvals that they issue. Well, the same is said as well for the Department of Buildings. You also have to come to the Department of Buildings to obtain approvals before you can install a system, an energy storage system. Our approvals work in hand with FDNY's approvals, but we do focus on slightly different issues. For instance, we issue a permit for the work, and a permit is always required. If you were building a new home, of course, a permit would be required. If you are installing an energy storage system, again, a permit is required. And a permit is issued just to make sure and ensure that the plan for the construction complies with the code. So that's why we have a requirement for a permit from the Department of Buildings. We also have another permit, an electrical permit, which is separate from a construction permit. It's just the way that things developed at the Department of Buildings, but a permit is needed to ensure that the code, electrical code, the installation is in compliance with the electrical code. So we're talking about how the hookup is done with these energy storage systems, how the wiring is performed, and it has to follow code. So that permit is there to ensure that it does follow code. Lastly, and probably most important with the energy storage systems, is that you need an approval for the system. And this is looking at the system holistically. It's looking at the battery that stores energy. It's looking at other components of the system, such as a management system, a fire suppression system. It's looking at the site layout of the battery, and it's making sure that all those things are working in the safest manner. So all three are required from the Department of Buildings. There are some things that I think may be important on this slide just to point out. Besides issuing the approvals, we also have inspections that must take place. When I say inspections, though, I'm kind of categorizing not just a typical inspection that may be performed by a third party, but I'm also including any type of commissioning that may be required by commissioning agents. Commissioning deals with actually turning on the system, making sure it's working in compliance with not just the code, but also manufacturer's instructions or manufacturer specs. So it's looking at efficiency, it's looking at safety as well. And there's one last inspection. I threw it in that category, and that is a certification. And we have to have an engineer making sure that that system is being installed in accordance with the plans that were approved. So there is a lot of check, not just at the approval level, but also at the inspection level as well.
That's that one. I'm going to turn over to my colleague Fabricio to talk about our response.
Thank you, Chief. Fabricio Carr, Executive Director of Public Engagement for FDNY. Fortunately, our Chief of Hazmat Battalion was unable to make it due to participating in the conference. But just to explain a little bit more about the emergency response aspect and to reassure everyone, beyond the thorough safety review that goes through the FDNY Bureau of Fire Prevention, FDNY operations, and specifically our Special Operations Command through our Hazmat Battalion, basically has instituted protocols to ensure that in the event of a fire or an ESS incident, that they are trained and ultimately able to respond. The fire department has instituted a two-tier response, of course, including both the local fire companies and then an enhanced response, which then at that point includes our hazmat battalion or hazmat operations. From an initial response, if there is a reported incident of fire or smoke, the local units do respond to the site. The initial units will take immediate action to address any life safety threats, ensure that fire does not spread to the surrounding property, and the incident commander that's in place at that moment basically is in communication with the certificate of fitness holder. To note, for all ESS sites, the certificate of fitness holder number is posted as a requirement at the site, and that certificate of fitness holder has to be familiar with the site-specific emergency management plan and has to have access to real-time remote safety monitoring information. Basically, another tier of safety to basically support emergency operations in a more covered manner. If it is a confirmed fire at an ESS site, so now at that point it is confirmed, then that's where the enhanced response comes in, which is the tier 2. Then our hazmat battalion, our hazmat units then respond to support our local fire companies. Why our hazmat battalion? These are now specialized units basically that are trained to deal with lithium-ion battery and that have the necessary resources to basically support or attack where necessary the incident at hand. Upon arrival, the incident commander consults with the certificate of fitness and hazmat units to determine the operational strategy. The initial strategy is to allow the engineered safety feature of an energy safety storage site to control the fire and keep it contained within the sealed containment system. Why is it designed that way? To avoid, in the event of thermal runaway, it's designed to self-contain. If water is basically used, it could potentially damage other lithium-ion batteries, which then basically could create a more volatile situation. So essentially, the self-containment aspect is what the initial strategy is. operational protocols that are instituted. Let's say if it isn't contained at that point, it's all specific actions are taken depending on the nature of the incident and the information received from either the certificate of fitness holder and the incident commander. The following protocols will guide the FDNY response. Hose lines will be used to protect surrounding property from possible fire spread. When necessary, lithium-ion battery fires are extinguished using copious amounts of water. These fires are difficult to extinguish because water cannot reach the area that is burning. Exterior water application can prevent fire spread by cooling the enclosure and adjoining areas. And power supply to the ESS can be removed by activating the emergency stop. I don't know if I'm missing anything, Chief. Do you want to add anything?
I think you're doing great.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But that's pretty much, in a nutshell, the emergency response but to validate again that the FDNY is prepared and it trains consistently just in the event of any fire that would occur at an ESS site.
Absolutely. Many of the folks that we have in our hazmat battalion train other folks in the other parts of the country. Like they have many hours of training, and in New York City, we're very lucky to have that high level of competency and knowledge. So, thank you.
That's good. Excellent.
That's it. So
Sorry.
that's it. That's what we have. I don't know if you want to move to our state colleagues and then do questions, or do questions first for the city. I think either way is fine.
Let's go ahead and pause now for questions. I think just so while it's a lot of information, while it's fresh in folks' minds, I know that there are a lot of questions about this. Member Camacho, you are first in queue, and then you will be followed by a representative from Councilmember Nurse. And then we'll go around. So I see.
After everything is completed, everything is done, and you leave and it's checked off and all the certificates are clear, is there a follow-up or monthly visit or yearly visit or any visit after that? Because we in the hood, people change things around. When you leave and everything is good and you don't go back and check 2 years, 3 years, 4 years after, or they sell the house and someone come in there and start doing some electrical gadgets and messing stuff up, are you following up back to the location and making sure that we're going to have to stop whatever it is that they did? If they did something wrong or something is not right, eliminate it and shut it down, or you have to give them time to correct the problem and make sure that it's one certified license, to make sure they got the proper paperwork and things that need to be done before, or is the thing shut down for a while until they fix it? How does that work?
Sure. Thanks for the question. So first of all, there is frequent inspections that are built into from the manufacturer themselves, right? They're the ones who designed it, and they have regular maintenance and inspections that are built in. In addition, the New York City Fire Department does an annual inspection as well. So there are always eyes that are on it. As I think both Julia and Fabrizio had mentioned, there's a battery management system, right? So even the very it doesn't even have to be a problem that could cause a fire. It could be an over voltage, an under voltage. Things like that are constantly being read by that battery management system and signaling the remote monitoring company so that they're knowing what's going on at any particular time. And then if it is something that is escalating, it is meant to shut down, right, to keep it very, very small. There's a certificate of fitness holder that is a person that will actually be notified and monitoring what's going on. They are required and trained to call, depending on what is occurring, to actually make a notification to the fire department so that we can respond right away. So there's a lot of safety that's overlaid on it, and certainly inspections are part of that.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Samori Toure. I'm the Chief of Staff for Councilmember Sandy Nurse. I just want to ask, is now an appropriate time to leave a comment in support of this on behalf of Councilmember Nurse, or only for questions?
Sure. That'd be welcome.
Okay. So firstly, I just want to say that the Office of Councilmember Sandy Nurse supports community battery energy storage systems because they are safe, well-regulated, and critical for building a more resilient and reliable clean energy grid. These facilities use advanced fire suppression and monitoring technologies, and they help reduce reliance on polluting peaker plants that burden our neighborhoods. We're committed to ensuring any system in our district is implemented with strong community engagement and transparency and clear safety protocols. So I just want to leave that comment of support on behalf of the council member. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Baptiste.
Okay, thank you very much. Fred Baptiste, Brooklyn Community Board 9. I do have a couple of questions. First one I have is I've heard a lot in terms of the safety aspect with response to fire. In recent memory, we know that we've had some very severe flooding. And, the little I remember about electricity and water and people around it doesn't work. I mean, what are the response plans, or is there anything that's built into the system where it has to be able to tolerate a certain amount of water, especially since we have a lot of neighborhoods where that is a concern right now with flooding and water coming in? And then the other question I have is with respect to data. Will community boards, or what kind of reporting is done in terms of the neighborhood understanding what is in the district and, and getting data in terms of what's the effectiveness? Is it pulling power, or what does it mean to brownouts and other situations in the district?
So part of the code compliance review at the Department of Buildings is to make sure that the systems are installed in locations that comply with our flood hazard chapters of the code. So you cannot install these systems where there is an identified flood location. We have maps that FEMA produces that identifies flood locations. And so again, these systems cannot be installed in those areas.
On the data side, I would actually think there's room for improvement there. I would say our colleagues at the state level have a record of energy storage systems that exist and that is available at NYSERDA's website. And then our colleagues at the fire department are also working on tracking the energy storage systems within the city. I think there could be more transparency on the benefits and how they're preventing blackouts and brownouts, as you said. I think that's something that we should all work on in the future.
Good evening, everyone. Tamisha Thompson, Deputy Chief of Staff for Councilmember Mealy. I don't believe that our office received the presentation prior to tonight's meeting. So I was wondering if we can have that so I can make the member abreast of the energy storage system. And also on the points that Chair Camacho and Chair Baptiste made, sorry, I want to make sure I said it right. The points are very well made. And also due to the fact that a lot of places have the flooding that you said that they will not be installed, will the community board or even the residents or homeowners be made aware that they're not receiving this due to the fact that they're in a flood zone? So they don't feel like, like they're left out, or they're like, the concerns are not made, so they know exactly
Yeah, we have nothing in place that would actually give notice to community boards that certain locations are in flood zones related to energy storage systems. However, the maps, the FEMA maps, have been published for quite some time. And of course, that would apply to any installations or certain installations that are restricted to be installed in flooding. So it's not unique just to energy storage systems. These maps have been published for quite some time. We might be able to do a better job in communicating that to the community boards when it comes to energy storage systems, but it would be identical to anything that is restricted to installation in a flood.
Let us continue around the U. I cannot see because I am parallel to you, but thank you, Margaret.
Community Board 16, and I have a few questions. I'm going to give them all to you. My first question is the chemistry pick of the batteries that was not discussed. The second is how will the how will the energy be transported from the battery packs out to the communities? I would like to know the company that's bringing this. I don't remember hearing that tonight. We did have a presentation in District 16 a few months ago, so I'm not fresh to this. We've heard it, but here are the questions. What is the lifespan and duration before having to replace or renew the batteries? And is there any revenue that's going to come back to the host districts? Thank you.
Okay, give a few there. We did not talk about the chemistries, but we have a little bit of information on them in an appendix here, which the slides can be distributed afterwards. We shared them with the Borough President's office. We're mostly talking about lithium ion batteries in this case, which is the chemistry that has the energy density and cost and performance that is appropriate, and that has been the most popular one being installed in New York City. Lead acid is an older technology that you see in like a car, or a battery that you might bring around to a boat or something. That's a heavier and less energy dense, but it is something that's been around for a while, and there are installations of that in the city. Iron air, and there are other new chemistries that are coming about that have different properties. Some of them have less thermal runaway risk, and that's something that we're interested in seeing in the future, but they're kind of still under development. There's this iron air project. I believe there's one that is moving forward upstate in New York. I think it has less energy density. Is that right? Than lithium ion?
I know there's, sorry.
Yeah, no, please.
Nickel manganese cobalt is one battery chemistry. It's in terms of we have some resident experts here. So if I misstep, I'm not a chemist, but it is used in terms of it is effective in generating the energy. But there's also lithium iron phosphate, which is more stable, less prone to any kind of like thermal runaway. So I think the point taken is the fact that the city and FDNY and DOB are constantly looking at what is the new evolving battery chemistry technology that, because we want to solve the energy problem, we want to be able to, but we want to do it in the safest manner possible. So I hope that I know that's one part of your question. You had a couple, so.
Let me see if I can get the rest. How does it come into the neighborhoods? So this would be connected into the Con Edison, the electric grid. And so there's going to be, cables, wires that connect the energy storage system from its site into the distribution system, and then it will be dispersed into the neighborhoods and communities from there. This, as I said, this can be done like on the network level in your neighborhood, or we could also see, we haven't really seen it in the city yet, but like utility scale, which would kind of replace a power plant and have like higher power transmission lines, and then those get stepped down to neighborhood distribution lines and then get distributed throughout the community. So it would sort of depend on the scale. Also say there is, behind the meter energy storage, which could be a backup for a building. In that case, it would be connected directly to the load, directly to the building. Maybe this is a hospital, maybe this is your home. Not necessarily like connected to the grid on the other side. It would be really directly serving the energy in your home. So those are kind of the three levels of how it would tie in. Companies, we're not speaking on behalf of any companies here tonight. This is the city processes and policies. So there are several that are installing within the city, but we're not speaking on behalf of them today. Lifespan and duration. 15 to 20 years.
I would want to I'm sorry, Julie.
Yeah,
I would
please.
want to I would want to double check myself. And if there's a way we can get back with information, I don't know. I know we have, I don't want, Paul, is there a general for 15 to 20 years? Okay. Paul Rogers, chief, we've known for many years, a retired FDNY member, at subject matter expert in the industry. So 15 to 20 years. So thank you.
That really just prompted my final question. Will there be a fund in place for damages? Right.
A fund in place for damages to the neighborhood? I don't have information on that. I'm sorry.
Oh, I will continue to come down this way and then we'll go back around. Okay. Yes.
All right, so folks, good evening. I am Chairperson Carl Henry Cesar from Brooklyn CB14, so thank you. So a few things. First one, just confirming that for the Borough President's Office, that this deck will also be emailed out because it is a lot of information. So thank you for sharing that. So just confirming that. Second thing, I have a couple of questions too. So follow-up question regarding the FEMA maps. I hear what you're saying. The concern I have is we're still in the federal government shutdown and those information isn't readily updated all the time. And every day people dig up things in the ground and they find utilities that DOT doesn't have on their map. And so I hear what you're saying, but I'm asking you, do you believe that the FEMA maps are current? So I know it's a standard that exists, but I'm asking you about how updated is that information? Because frankly, hearing that there are FEMA maps isn't good enough for me. So that's the first question I have. Do you know how often that information is updated? Because if you don't, then please work with your colleagues to make sure that is updated, because then I think that adds validity to my fellow chairperson's questions about the flood zones. The second question I have is from a process standpoint. Could you go back to the slide that showed the approval process from the FDNY? I think it showed FDNY and then it had like the chevrons. It had FDNY, then FDNY and DOB. Back. Yes. So the question I have is, looking at this, last time I checked, an approval process, you can either be rejected or accepted. I don't see rejection here. So does this mean that every ESS is guaranteed approval? Like, does this mean that you could fail an infinite number of times and always come back? Or is it that after a certain number of failures, you need to try again? And then the last question I have is, given that the shelf life is 15 to 20 years, would there also be a deinstallation process that the installer would be responsible for? And then the last piece is, I echo what all my fellow chair people have said, where there has to be community engagement. Like, there has to be somebody in a team of people who are coming out to the community boards on a regular basis and updating them on this stuff. And so those are my questions, and I thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. So yes, most certainly there are letters of denial and letters of defect. So if it's clearly not a chemistry that we would allow in the city or something major, be a letter of denial. If it is something that it's a defect, it's not, like sort of like a critical fail kind of thing, then we would respond back to the applicant, state our reasons for the letter of defect, and then they could either address it or move on type of thing. So that would be the one thing. As far as the decommissioning process, that's a great question. It's very detailed in the fire code. So it's very, first of all, there has to be many notifications to different entities within the fire department that they are decommissioning. It has to be done in a certain process. It has to make sure that it is done safely. It has to be also in line with environmental laws as well, and as well as Department of Transportation laws as far as moving that material. So, and I don't know. I think there was something about an annals. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
You're
the FEMA
right.
maps.
Sorry.
And I just wanted to add to the decommissioning discussion.
Yes.
Decommissioning is a process that is outlined in NFPA 855. It's a national standard. So we have just published a rule that actually adopts this national standard. The national standard is modified for New York City, though, because there are special needs for New York City. So we have an entire chapter on decommissioning. So anything must follow those national standards as modified for New York City. We also have a registration process. So that registration process will keep us informed of all active systems. And when a system is decommissioned, it will, of course, be noted in the registration in the database. As far as the FEMA maps are concerned, that is something that my unit, we do not review for flood compliance. So I wish I had some colleagues here that could speak to that a little better than I could. But I know that there are maps that are published in our codes. And so each time we review, we revise our codes, we have new maps. So they are, I guess you can say, published when our codes are published. And when we have a new code, which happens about every 6 years or so, then those maps are then updated at that time. Does that address your question? Because I'm not sure exactly if it does.
It does, because the question I had in tying together Chair Camacho and Fred Baptiste was the real world outpacing the information that teams have available to them. So from what you've stated, and it's nothing your team controls, so I'm not coming at your team, but from what you've shared, there's essentially a 6-year window between when the codes are updated and from when the maps are published. And so the fact that we had those rains last week and there were some people who died in basement apartments, we're looking from 2025 to 2020 to 2031 when those codes will be updated. And because those things are as of right for 10,000 square feet, if something gets installed in 2028 in a flood zone and something happens, and then the map is 2031, that's 3 years too late. So that's why I'm bringing that up. So you did answer the question where they are published, but what it calls out is that's a gap that needs to be addressed, right? Because the fact is the information that the teams get and then the process to update it doesn't meet the speed at which through City of Yes and other things will be installed, and there could be lives at risk. So you did answer it. It's just calling out the gaps and the potential dangers associated with those gaps too.
How you doing? Good evening. I wanted to know, are private developers who develop the systems, are they required to have liability insurance in case of a fire and damage to nearby property?
We want to check. I noticed.
Can we get back to you on that? I'm not sure the exact requirements of insurance requirements for the private companies, but appreciate that.
Okay.
It's an important question.
One other question regarding noise. Do these storage systems give off noise, and what do you do to mitigate that so it doesn't disturb nearby residents?
So we have some information on noise in our appendix here. So let me just get to it quickly. Okay, oh, there we go. So yes, there is noise, some noise associated with them, but they have to stay below the noise code. And this is a little bit of information on the noise code section that they have to be compliant with. This is a Department of Environmental Protection regulation. So it's not necessarily in the purview of the folks at this table right now, but these are the code sections that they are required to be compliant with, and there are various mitigation strategies, including like walls and barriers that can be employed to stay below them. And this will be included in the information sent around.
Good evening, Jenny Hernandez, CB13. My question is, do you have any plans to put any energy storage facility in CB13 that consists of Coney Island, Brighton Beach, Gravesend, and Seagate? And then we want to add something else.
Also, if you are, why would you put them in a flood zone? Like all of our community board is in a flood zone. we still haven't recovered from the devastation of Sandy. Just curious.
So the folks here are not in charge of deciding where the projects are going. It's like private developers that would be doing it, dependent on a few things, including like the incentives available, the permitting requirements, the zoning, if it is allowed or not, and such. The city is installing some energy storage systems through the Department of Citywide Administrative Services on city-owned land. I'm not sure if there are any that are planned within your district. If they are, I'm sure that they will have to comply with the flood zone requirements, and I don't have that information offhand, but we can check if there's anything that is like on the docket and maybe make some connections. But other than like city-owned land, we're not involved with siting of the projects.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate part of the permitting process that I spoke to earlier, where we have a permit that is issued based on a review of the installation. That is not done in my office. That is done for each and every project in New York City. Again, I mentioned if you're building a house, you have to get a permit. There has to be a review of all of the plans that are submitted. The same with any type of energy storage system. There has to be a review of the plans and a permit issued. When those plans are reviewed, they are reviewed for code and for code compliance. And part of that is flood zone. If there is a location that is chosen that is in the flood zone, that installation will not be permitted.
Thank you.
There was a map that showed like high priority areas, like in dark, or areas that are most prone. Anthony Busford, sorry, Community Board 3. I'm curious. I mean, it looked like it was most of the Bronx and Upper Manhattan, but there was some part that was like could have been Brooklyn Queens border. I'm curious if you can identify those neighborhoods.
Which are these neighborhoods? So it looks like Williamsburg and Greenpoint, Ridgewood, maybe I'm just looking at the map location wise. Ridgewood is in, oh yeah. I'm sorry. So this map will be sent around in the materials as well, so you can take a closer look at this. This is actually a map that we created as a part of the Con Edison rate case, the last rate case in 2022, which actually I made this map, overlaid disadvantaged communities, which are the yellow state designated disadvantaged communities with a higher rate of outages. We wanted to see if there was a correlation there. Based on this map, we couldn't, pull any definitive findings on that correlation. It just seems like there could be one, and we did actually, like as a sidebar, work to get more information in the future on that. But these are areas that have experienced higher levels of energy outages in the past.
And just to add some of that, not every community in Brooklyn in particular has access to things like air conditioners. And so while there may be peak demand, in particular disadvantaged communities, access to like high energy dependent fans, air conditioning, cooling, those things might also be a part of what is showing up in this map as well. And certainly, I think there are some corresponding maps in the comprehensive plan that might be helpful as well to explain some of what's going on in terms of people that are burdened by their energy rates and some other things that might help to inform and influence this map.
Just CB4 Camacho, just to let you know that the Office of Emergency Management is in Bushwick. So everything that you guys got, the generators, all the stuff for emergencies in Bushwick, it's on our side, right? Bushwick floods. Just flooded. So that's the highest peak. That's where you got all the emergency service over me and Bushwick floods. So we have to be very careful with whatever you put. I'm just thinking out the box because You're saying that you're not going to put it in flooded areas, but you have the Office of Emergency Management with the equipment on the hill over there. We serve the 5 boroughs, and Bushwick flooded just recently. So just keep an open mind.
All right. With that, I believe it's going to be our last comment for this panel, and we'll move on to our state colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Rogers. I am retired from the New York City Fire Department, where I worked as a lieutenant in our hazardous material unit. I do not speak on behalf of FDNY. I want to be very clear on that. The reason that I'm here is I was involved with actually the creation of the code that we have currently in place. The chief laid out very elegantly how it is enforced and the process that was put forward. But I'm here to let you know that the work that was done to get the code to where it was, and which is, by the way, the envy of the world. A lot of people look to New York City on how they actually handle these battery energy storage systems. So there's been a lot of copycat material that people drafted from the New York City Fire Department and the Department of Buildings codes. So, I think that the regulatory infrastructure in New York City is in really, really good shape. The enforcement and the people that are putting it in are very knowledgeable people. I work on things around the country. We're advocates for firefighter safety, by the way, ESRG. But I work on things around the country, and I can see that these people do not have the level of knowledge of what the New York City Fire Department and the Department of Buildings has. So I wanted to get that out there. But just to give you an idea on when we started looking at this work, we did a lot of research and development, about 5 years of research and development before we actually were able to get to the code. So we worked with the military, we worked with the Department of Energy, we worked with a lot of different stakeholders that were already using lithium-ion batteries, and they had done it safely. For instance, the military had lithium-ion batteries for propulsion in submarines. So if you're familiar with submarines, they go underneath the water, and you can't have a fire when they're underneath the water. So we found that to be very, very interesting, and we really wanted to know how they actually did that. And as a result of that, we started doing some testing, and then we figured out how these things failed. If you remember, years back in 2013, we were dealing with lithium-ion battery problems for consumer products, and that was with the hoverboards, if you all remember that. So we knew that these things could go on fire, and our goal at that time was to take a look at a lot of different things when we were creating the code. The number one thing was safety, obviously, but we also had in the back of our mind at that time, and the chief of fire prevention was a gentleman named Tom Jensen. He knew the need. He knew the grid was in dire need, it needed these battery energy storage systems. So he said, roll up your sleeves and get to work. And we did 5 years of work dealing with all these different stakeholders. So there was a tremendous amount of effort that was put in there. And we were well advanced compared to the rest of the country when we did that. So we looked at the need, right? And then we looked at the safety. Well, we looked at the safety first and then the need. But when we looked at the safety, we looked at the idea that, okay, we want to try to really prevent these things from actually going on fire. So understanding how these things failed was key to us. And then understanding the hazards that were associated based on the failure was the next thing that we looked at. So once we were able to figure out the hazards, we were able to put some things in place to try to manage the hazards themselves. And the next thing was we wanted to make sure that if this thing were to go on fire, and the chief mentioned it earlier, we wanted to make sure that the fire just stayed contained inside the actual container itself. And for those who are not familiar with battery energy storage systems, they're basically like these cabinets that look like the back of a truck, the intermodal truck, or a Connex box, just to give you a visual on how they are. And they're spaced apart, so each one of them have batteries from floor to ceiling on the inside of it. So we said, okay, we want to make sure that the system doesn't, the failure doesn't lead the actual container itself. And that was key to stop the propagation and the spread. So we want to manage it. And again, they mentioned it really clearly was they wanted to keep it within that one particular area so it never left the box. And as a result of that, they evolved into this large-scale fire testing where they're actually do destructive testing where they have to put these things on fire. They actually put them on fire. So they don't just try to say, well, let's see what happens when they fail. They say, no, let's put them on fire and let's see what happens at that. Large-scale testing is an anomaly. It's usually not performed. It's very, very expensive to do in the fire protection world. But it was mandated by the New York City Fire Department that they do that. Otherwise, they weren't coming into the city. And I can tell you that some people walked out of the office in Brooklyn when we asked for that. And you know what? They came back. They wound up coming back and they acquiesced to the actual request itself by saying, yeah, we'll do that. So all of that stuff was baked together to put in a code that has really stood the test of time and the people that are doing it. And you know, we do see other ones that are out there where the standard of care, right? People that go out and take a look at it. And there was a great question. I think it was you, Mr. Camacho, that mentioned how often do people get to see these things? Well, the fire department looked at that themselves when they were developing in that. And the chief mentioned this thing called the certificate of fitness. They basically become like the managers, representatives for the people who are putting these things in that have a general idea on how the battery works and all the hazards that are associated with it. And they are there to liaison with the fire department to make sure that the fire alarms are checked on a regular basis, to make sure that the sites are cleaned, to make sure that they're doing the proper repairs and replacements and everything is reported to the fire department. And so they kind of work in between both the fire department and the owners of the system itself. And nothing like that exists around the country. There's nothing like that at all. But a lot of people did look at that, and now they're starting to realize, like, wow, maybe we need that. Because if you don't take care of the property, you will have a failure, right? And we're seeing that with some of the consumer products out there where the people are not taking care of their property and they're going on fire. And that's one of the main reasons why we see these batteries going on fire on the consumer side is because they're just not being, the standard of care is just not there. I mean, we all leave our phones out in the hot sun, right? And sure enough, it shuts down. Well, that degrades the battery itself. So you should try to do that and degrades the battery that eventually you may have a failure on it. So all of that stuff is actually looked at in the fire code. So just someone that is now on the other side looking at the advocacy, we just recently did some work on the state code, and we started to look at what we did in the New York City, and I know how good the New York City code is between the buildings department and the fire department. Is they haven't been one incident, and we've had energy storage systems installed since 2018. Not one single incident and that's as a result of the oversight that is being done. So once they're put in, it's not set and forget. It's every year they're coming back for an operational review to make sure that these things are looked at regularly. And as I mentioned, that certificate of fitness was also key to make sure that, hey, when this thing is actually, let's say there is the worst case scenario and there's a failure, and the fire department can manage these failures. That's how we looked at the code too. We said, yeah, we're not satisfied with trying to make it, trying to not put it on fire. What happens when it does go on fire, and can the fire department actually manage it? And we felt very comfortable that the fire department could actually manage the systems if they were to fail, which is a big key to make sure that we just have this thing contained at one particular part. But what happens after the event is over? And we did not want to put fire service people out of service by watching something that may have stranded energy still in there. And so the certificate of fitness was created to basically hand off command to the certificate of fitness person, so they would actually safeguard the system until it actually is decommissioned. So all of this stuff, this door process was put in place to try to make sure that we don't take fire units out, because when you take a fire unit out of service, it puts a gap in the life safety of the fire coverage area. So all of this, again, was baked into the code to make sure that we looked at all aspects of it. And again, the state of New York that just recently updated it, a lot of it was modeled after the New York City fire code. So I'll just leave it there, and I'll give it to my colleague Bill from NYSERDA.
Thank you, Paul. That was a great time to segue. Hi, everyone. My name is Bill Obercare. I'm a program manager on the Clean Energy Siting team at the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, or NYSERDA. As Paul said, we at the state have learned a lot from New York City and implemented a lot of New York City's great ideas at the state level. If folks aren't familiar with this, in the summer of 2023, we had 3 energy storage system fires in New York State, one in East Hampton, one in Orange County and Warwick, and one all the way up in the Thousand Islands area of the North Country in Chameau. These all happened within 2 months of each other. They were the first 3 in the state. I don't know if you could imagine how it felt to be the person holding the bag for that when you got the call of the 3rd one, but it was terrifying. We knew we had a lot of work to do. We had just put a contract in place with Paul's team at ESRG a month before the first fire as our state subject matter expert support. They had just won a competitive solicitation that was open to anyone in the world who could prove that they were the best to handle the job. Paul's company won out. And you know how hindsight is 2020. I look back on that and it's the most serendipitous thing that ever happened in my entire life. So we have Paul Rogers, who helped write New York City's fire code, as well as Nick Petrakis, who also helped write New York City's fire code, and the host of other folks who are working with the SRG. And boy, did we lean on them for everything that we did. So we're in this position where we have 3 fires in the state, and New York City has been doing this type of development since 2018 and no issues. So it's very clear to us that we have a thing or two that we can learn. So what Governor Hochul did in the wake of those fires was to assemble an interagency fire safety working group where we decided which state agencies were relevant to respond to these fires, to tighten the gaps that we were going to identify at that point, to be able to figure out how to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Part of what we did there was to reinspect every project in New York State over a certain size, and Paul's team led a team of inspectors to be able to train the state inspectors to get up to speed with where they are in their experience so we can duplicate that expertise. And what we found that throughout New York State, New York City was the only jurisdiction that had capable people of assessing the designs of these systems for safety and inspecting them when they were built to be sure that they were built in accordance with approved design. So that's one place where we at the state say, okay, we need to get much closer to what they're doing. We then did a full code standards and regulations review at the state level where we made fire code recommendations to the New York State Code Council, which is the independent body that is in charge of adopting New York State's fire code. New York City, if folks don't know, is the only jurisdiction within New York State that is permitted to retain its own fire code, and for good reason, because they were years and years ahead of us. So what we did was worked with Paul and the team and the folks at the state agencies, Department of State, the State Office of Fire Prevention and Control. There were about 40 people on these weekly conference calls that we had. We built a consensus-based process to figure out how to create regulations that keep us safe without killing this entire industry before it gets off the ground, because we know we need this technology if we as a species are going to make it through the next century or so. So we needed to balance that with keeping folks safe in the short term, in the incident of a fire explosion, and keeping people safe in the long term with the climate peril that we face. So that code was just passed at the state level in the summer, and we're all very proud of it. We couldn't have done it without Paul. If you look at that code, you will see a lot of things from New York City. So that's the state context of how Paul and the work of FDNY, former and current FDNY folks have influenced us statewide. I just want to speak briefly about the work that New York State is currently doing to support New York City in these efforts. So you heard from Alan Price and Chief Correo earlier. NYSERDA is funding basically a team of scientists at a global consultant known as DNV to support FDNY and DOB in evaluating the equipment. So they're evaluating the technology and the products that are used on behalf of FDNY. And then on behalf of DNV, they're taking a look at the actual site plans. So the project. So at FDNY, we're reviewing the products and the equipment. At DOB, we're reviewing the project and the site. So those two things are really what make up the system. And we have folks supporting our fine colleagues from the city here who are widely recognized as global leaders in this field. So not only do we have, our homegrown talent that is a global leader in the field, we have additional scientists who are on board to support these folks as well. In addition to that, I mentioned that Paul and ESRG, have the state contract as a subject matter expert. We also offer support on the community side. Most recently, we got a call from Councilmember Natasha Williams' office, and we had a few conversations with her, with Paul's team and my team, to be able to do that one-on-one technical assistance, to have the one-on-one conference call where it's, your constituents are bringing concerns to you. We are who you can bring those concerns to give you the information that you need to go back into your community. That is a free service funded by New York State. We have Paul's team on retainer. We set up those calls all the time. Anyone in this room, whether you're a community board district manager, whether you represent a council member's office, you can reach out to NYSERDA. We are happy to have that one-on-one engagement with you and give you that attention so that you feel comfortable going back into your community and addressing your constituents with good answers and the best information possible. The last thing I'll say is that we're also working with the MOCEJ team, with Julia's team, to start scaling up our more community-based efforts. So I think we'll have some news on that front probably in the near term, but we have had a few conversations about how and when to do that. And we're working on the state side to secure some extra funding support, which actually just this morning, we got an extra $750,000 in agency support. And I think we have about $250 extra coming for community support. So we are well funded on this particular issue. And I would urge folks in this room to take advantage of that funding, because you might not hear this from too many folks, who are in the city and working at the state. But, I would love to see the support come back here to the city as a Brooklyn resident myself, especially because the city has done so much to just pave the way for us and make our lives easier. And I think it's, past time that we kind of return the favor here and hopefully return it, many times over if we can. So thank you for attending tonight. Thank you for the interest in the topic. And, to the extent that folks have questions and we have time, I'm happy to stick around.
Hold on one moment. We'll bring the mic to you. Thank you.
Thank you. I just would like for you to clarify the acronyms, the NYSERDA. Is that DNV or B?
It's DNV. And that is one of those acronyms that's taken on its own life. It used to stand for something, and now they officially changed their name to DNV. So DNV is no longer an acronym. NYSERDA is New York State Energy Research and Development Authority.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah. So thank you both for the additional context. I really appreciate that. So let me know if I have this summary correct or incorrect. And so first off, NYSERDA is funding DNV, and DNV's purview is to review the proposed sites within New York City for ESS and the tools and products proposed for installation at those proposed sites. Is that summary correct, or did I mess something up there?
That's right. On behalf of DOB, they're doing the sites. On behalf of FDNY, they're doing the equipment, so the system itself.
Okay, cool. And then the second thing too is NYSERDA is working with like DOB and FDNY in terms of like better flushing out the community engagement process. And while that's happening, community boards, any questions we have, we can reach out directly to NYSERDA. And then, like you said, those conversations will be scheduled?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. could you share like contact info as well? And then, you know, let us know like how to reach out to you and your colleagues or whatever.
I'm very happy to do that. Caroline, can I circulate that through you?
Fantastic. Okay, excellent.
It's okay. Hi, thank you guys for attending tonight. But I think just the same thing that he said, if you guys can make sure that we get your information. So if any of the council members want to have, when they have like their monthly meetings or anything like that with the community, they can invite you guys out to kind of explain a little bit more to like the locals. And we're going to get it from Caroline.
I will also, I think, yes, I do have a card with me. I will also leave a card on that table, and whoever wants to take a photo of it on the way out can do that. And then also I will circulate to Caroline, and you already have my email too. So if folks are asking for it, in addition to that, please feel free to share it with anyone who might benefit from that conversation.
Thank you. And just also, if you don't mind, just sending like a brief summary of what you guys are going to be doing adjacent or partnering with FDNY. So when I bring this back to my member, I'm able to kind of like break it down to her exactly what's going on.
Sure, we'd be
Thank
happy
you.
to do that.
All right, one more call for questions or comments for this item. Seeing and hearing none, let's take a moment and thank our colleagues for coming and joining us with so much information.
Thank you all.
All right, we will now move on to other business. One of the things that's been standing on our agendas for quite some time is the expiration of the open meetings law hybrid provision, which allows some more flexibility for how we engage in our meetings, particularly in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. As that approaches, we will need to develop a strategy and a timeline as a body on sort of what kind of flexibility we might want to have, what is possible for us. Many of your individual boards have made some provisions in your bylaws as well to account for different types of hybrid items. With that said, this is one of those items that may benefit from the creation of a subcommittee that can really talk through these issues, particularly those community boards that have more experience with holding regular hybrid meetings. So moved. Member Baptiste, is that a volunteer, everybody on the subcommittee? Okay, yes, motion, there's been a, all right. Is there a motion? There's a motion from Member Baptiste to create a subcommittee on this topic. Is there a second? Second. Okay. Yes, to deal with the expiration of the hybrid provision of the open meetings law. Okay. Yes, please. So the question was for.
Chief of staff normally comes.
That's okay.
She can't, so I haven't been here. Like,
Yes, for the question, or you can repeat the question if you would like.
we're just asking this, this committee would be for the hybrid meetings on if a staff member cannot attend from a council member's office or also from a community board, their vote will still be counted if they can attend online.
That is one of the many, many considerations that this subcommittee could take up.
Point of, can I?
There's a point of clarity for Member Camacho.
Yeah, but isn't the city charter supersedes our bylaws?
There will be some aspects of what is possible for the open meetings law that we will need to be in consultation with our council on.
Yeah,
Yes.
because under the city charter, they don't count as quorum. So if you're gonna amend that, then you're gonna have to amend the city charter because the bylaws is, we can go through this again and somebody pulls the chart out and says, well, he don't count on
We
the
will
vote.
certainly ensure that our council makes sure that anything that the subcommittee develops in response to this is compliant with city law. We will make sure that happens.
Because that was Governor Hochul that put that on there, and if she eliminates it, our city charter prevails, the bylaws. No, you can do all your subs you want, but if I pull out the mandate city charter and there's a vote and God forbid something happens, they say, well, hey, you don't count.
Which would also, so
I'm just, no, I'm never,
To-
never arguing with you. I'm not arguing, I'm just bringing my point across.
yeah, to this point, there may be situations in which members can participate in discussion, but may not be able to act as voting members. And so in those cases, we may not be able to take action as a committee or a body, or that person would not be able to count towards quorum. And so those are the types of things that I believe that Member Camacho is bringing up, which are very valid considerations. We will now move to another member.
Just wanted to read this statement on behalf of Chair Teresa Scavo. And this is Brooklyn Community Board 15 has its general board meetings exclusively in person. Hybrid meetings would not work for CB 15 if there's less incentive to attend in person and risking not having a quorum present because of that. However, under extenuating circumstances such as harsh weather or a building shutdown where the meeting would take place, CB 15 would like to have the option of virtual meetings. CB 15 proposes that the state amends the city charter to allow for virtual meetings under extenuating circumstances. Otherwise, CB 15 would prefer to keep meetings in person and not hybrid.
Thank you for that comment. And just a point of clarification, this is for this body. And so CB 15 would be able to retain to have all of their meetings be, but for the Borough Board in particular. So this is for us as this body is meeting. But we want those lessons from CB 15. And so certainly discouraging people from attending in person, as we can see who's still here. We got a late start. It's 8:10. We don't want to do anything to discourage these folks from attending or participating. And so that point is also noted. But yes. Yeah, I'm happy to repeat it. Yeah. When does the law, what's that?
Yeah,
When does the law expire?
when does the provision expire? Just to give a term for the committee.
I don't want to miss
June 30th?
June 30th.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have some time. June 30th, 2026. January. Yeah. January. Yeah.
So since you're the council, I'm just thinking out the box. So the Borough Board is not doesn't carry the charter revision.
Say that one more
Doesn't
time.
apply. So it doesn't apply to the Borough Board, the charter revision in regards to attendance and quorum. I guess I'll look it up.
You're saying the charter revision, or are you saying the city charter? I'm sorry. That's
The city charter
yes.
and mandates us in regards to being, so Borough Board is excluded from that?
No, we would be making recommendations. That subcommittee would be making recommendations to the state, and the state would then take up those things to make updates to the open public meetings law. Sorry if that was important context that I should have provided earlier. Thank you for the opportunity to keep me
Thank you.
humble. Okay, so there's been a motion to create a subcommittee. It's been seconded. Can we just do we don't have quorum anymore. Oh, please go ahead. We can certainly table. So the question was on what are the impacts of the ballot measures that were passed and voted on in the last election earlier this week. We will certainly put that on a future agenda and potentially invite the Charter Revision Commission. I know many of your boards had presentations from the Charter Revision Commission. Some of your council members also presented at your community boards. And so we can bring clarity to that where possible, but also certainly additional discussion and as to how to best position community boards to continue to have a strong voice in the ULURP process.
And I did, Camacho, Chairperson.
Yes.
I just wanted that we were confused.
Yes.
Very confused. We were so confused that our council was telling us don't vote, and then we had our borough president on TV saying to vote on it. I'm still confused. So we need some clarification on what's going on, because it was disheartening and not good that we had two different things. Yes, we did. We also had city council come out and said, don't vote on it. And yes,
You guys still didn't understand?
I didn't understand. I didn't understand people telling them to say yes on it and to say no on it. That's what I didn't understand.
They gave presentations. I do agree with you. It could have been done a lot better. Yes, very. But so I happened to attend the CBA meeting where they did a 35 minute, if you don't mind, Chairperson, 35 minutes or 40-minute presentation. They broke down, they had slideshows on exactly how this could affect you in either a negative way or a positive way on how the proposals could affect you. That was one meeting I went to that I found it was very informational. So to you, Chairperson, I'm just asking you, when you guys invited the council members to attend your meeting and also the City Planning Commission, how do you feel that you were very confused? Because that means that there has to be better, because it's very unfortunate a lot of stuff that was voted on that's going to have a lack of representation from your boards, as long as all the community boards, and also a lot of representation from the city council. I was very disappointed, and I do feel like it could have been worded a lot better, but I also feel like that's when reading comprehension is very important, because when they broke it down, if you understood what they were saying, you still wouldn't agree with it. And on the proposal, I understood a lot better than I did when I heard the presentations. So I'm just saying, what exactly would you like to see more from the council when it comes to certain proposals, or the mayor's office for things like this when it comes to the ballot? Because I was very disappointed in the turnout. And I'm speaking on behalf of myself, not my member.
Did you want to respond, Member Camacho? No, okay. So I think this does highlight, I think there was some general confusion that has been, I think, evident amongst a lot of community newspapers and blogs, discussions, social media posts around sort of the benefits, the trade-offs, the impacts of this. And so I think the benefit that we have now post-vote is that we can be really clear about what happens next, as opposed to sort of, is this a great thing? Is that a bad thing? What are the trade-offs? And there are different perspectives. And I think there are different impacts across the borough, particularly when it comes to the types of projects that have been proposed, the types of projects that have been removed from consideration by applicants. And so I think, it's worth having a real substantive discussion on how community boards can be well positioned to advocate for themselves. So I think, let's table this for a future discussion. We'll try to get the right set of voices in the room. And so before I close out that, I want to see who is interested in participating on the subcommittee. If you could raise your hand, and the subcommittee on the open meetings. Yes. And if you could keep those raised while we get them, or turn your placard up, either way. So if your placard is up, we are going to put you on a subcommittee. Yes, we can see looking down. Okay. Noted. So we have one voluntelling.
I saw Carl. I can see who's next to you, Carl. I can see who's next to you, Margaret. We need one more. We need an even number. What did I say?
Odd number. We need an odd number.
Uneven number.
Yeah. So do we have an even oh, so we need one more for no. Did you stop on? Yeah, we could.
When it's in chair.
Yeah. Okay.
Daily at the end?
Yes. 17.
Are you Trisha, right? Yeah.
Okay. Great. We have a beginning of a subcommittee on this topic. That committee will be supported by the Borough President's Office and Borough President's Council as is available. Okay.
Does the yes or no have to be now?
The yes or no does not have to be now. So. Oh. All right. Just want to do a time check for members that are here. We have lost a considerable number of folks. I know that we had talked about continuing the discussion on the term limits discussion that member Camacho brought up earlier. As my suggestion that we table that discussion for a future meeting. And I think what I will try to do for that meeting is to give it a time so that we can make sure that we get to all the items. Certainly if there needs to be more discussion, but just make some space for that for a future session. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I completely forgot this, but the borough president would like to meet with the community board leadership. We're looking at either December 3rd or 4th. Scheduling is always tough. Around the holidays, it's even tougher. And I know that's the week of our borough board, but we really would like you all to attend. One of the big items on the agenda is going to be term limits. And how we need to really plan for that. It's really up on us. The people who were appointed in 25 cannot be reappointed in 27 if they were serving in 2019. And couple that with the regular turnover of the boards, we're potentially losing about 300 people in one fell swoop. So the world won't fall apart. We'll all get up the next day and go to work, but it's really important for us to have a deep conversation about how we are going to manage that, not just from the Borough Hall side, but from the community board side, because we want to ensure that the boards have smooth transitions and to help with that as much as possible. So December 3rd or 4th, I'll send out a notice by Monday, which day it's going to be. Please, please, please do all you can to make that meeting. Feel free to bring along your first vice chair because this is about transition planning and delegation at this point. Thanks. Yeah.
see some benefits. Thank you. I could see some benefits to that discussion being held as one.
Okay, I got that a second from Carl on that. Is that what I hear? Okay, how do the other chairpersons feel about a joint meeting? Okay. Third or fourth. How is that looking on your calendars? Like, tell me now. Yeah. No. Remember, a lot of our chairs are working regular jobs, so.
I mean, just in response, I think there is value for a chairs only conversation, and maybe there's multiple conversations, and maybe there's a separate conversation after the chairs meet with the DMs. And maybe there's a DM separate conversation that needs to happen because two concerns. One, I think there won't be some things mentioned around the transition depending on who's in the room. The other thing is that the meeting's going to be 5 hours if everybody's there. And you know, the district managers get paid. We don't. So I think that just for that, we should probably separate it and then try to have something joint afterward. No, something joint afterward. I don't know who you are. Yeah.
This meeting is being recorded.
That was off mic. That was off mic.
So I didn't hear any objection to either date. So let's go with the 4th then.
Oh, the date? Oh.
Right? Give you a break. You meet on Tuesday and Thursday.
There's one objection.
Board meeting's on Monday.
The 4th will be tough for Member Baptiste.
Oh. Okay, so we do the 3rd.
Wow. I have a big week that week. The first is my week. Well, I can't do the first because that's my board meeting.
Okay. We're gonna do this a slightly different way. I want everyone to take a moment, check their schedule if you can, if you have it available with you. And then, yes, please.
Can we just call attendance, adjourn, and we can take care of this offline?
That sounds great.
That's just easier for me at the end of the
No,
day.
I mean, I think still this evening.
Yeah.
Because there's not
Yeah.
we don't have quorum here.
Just call the meeting, and then let's adjourn right now, and then we'll just take care of this business.
Yes.
Fine.
Yes. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn? Motion from Member Brazil.
Point of order?
Yes, please.
If we can, if we could just call attendance just to note who is still here and who's not.
There's been a motion to call attendance. Is there a second? Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions?
There's no quorum, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, habits are hard to, So, yes, we will take attendance. Do you want to? Okay, here you go.
Starting with the community boards. Community Board 1. Community Board 2. Community Board 3. Community Board 4. Community Board 5. Community Board 6. Community Board 7. Did somebody answer for 7?
No.
Okay. Community Board 8. Community Board 9.
Still here.
Community Board 10. Community Board 11. Community Board 12. Community Board 13. Thank you. Community Board 14. Community Board 15. Thank you. Community Board 16. Community Board 17. Yes. Community Board 18. Okay, we have 11 boards present. We lost a couple. Council districts, 33, Wrestler. Huh? You have 12. Yeah, sorry. Community board, sorry. Listen, it's late. Council District 34, Gutierrez. Council District 35, Hudson. 36, Osei. 37, Nurse. 38, Aviles. 39, Hanif. 40, Joseph. 41, Mealy. 42, Banks. 43, Zwang. 44, Felder. 45, Louis. 46, Narcisse. Thank you, Frank. 47, Brannon. 48, Vernikov. 50, Carr. Borough President's Office. We are here.
You do.
We made it.
16.
Well, there's that. Oh, do you want to end the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, returning to a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, we are now adjourned. We will see you next month. Thank you all.